congrats on Nobody. I had a fucking blast with it. Bob kicked so much ass. I'm going to be stunned if you guys aren't making a sequel. It's so good. And that's it. We're done.
Click.
Right, exactly. I'm curious, when you're writing a script like this, which is going to have action sequences in it, in the script, are you saying like there's an awesome bus fight in this movie? In the script, are you writing amazing bus fight? Or how does that sort of work in the script of like in the writing when you're inserting action set pieces?
I write a great deal of action. I grew up loving action movies. I write what I watch, I write what I love. And, you know, the best is when you go back to, you know, Sammo Hung and Jet Li and, you know, the Street Fighter with, you know, I love that kind of stuff. So I tend to overwrite action a bit. And yet, when you hang out with a stunt team and you get to geek out about what's on the page and what they do with it, it's rarely the same, but every now and then, there's always one thing that was in the script that they're like, that's fucking cool. And they bring it in and you're like, oh, that thing made it, you know? But honestly, in Nobody, it was such a long pre-production and a swift production that the third act sequence, that siege, that was on the page was like, we'll get to that. Like, so when you saw, you know, a lot of those elements, dude, that is everyone else. And I giggled, you know, that's Odenkirk, that's Ilya, that's Braden, that's Mark, that's Kelly, that's David. You know, I mean, it's everyone involved in that process. And you're like, dude, and they did it well.
Yeah. What's crazy is I think Ilya told me that they shot that whole thing in one day.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. You know, and what I loved about, you know, David and Ilya is, you know, Dave really took Ilya under his wing. And, you know, sometimes it's tough when one of the producers on the set is a director himself. And yet, you know, he was there to teach and to learn at the same time. And near the end, when they had no more money or time, David grabbed a camera, you know, and he did pickups and he was helping out. And I mean, not saying that you don't have to do that, but goddamn, that's cool. Like when you see a guy who's like, I'm producing this and hey, can I grab you a sandwich? That kind of thing. I loved it, man. I love that thing at the end of it throughout was still that kind of, what do you need? This is a student film with a little bit more money.
Yeah, it's definitely a little bit more money.
Well, you know what I'm saying. But I mean, it's a $15 million movie, which
no, completely. And the thing is that like, listen, you guys shot the thing in 34 days. Which is not a lot of time to make a movie that has action set pieces like this.
Yeah. Well, and you know, that's a credit to, you know, the 8711 of it all, 87 North, and Daniel Bernhardt, who for years trained Bob, you know, for free on his own time, and they became friends. And his energy on set, and you know, his death on the bus, not his death on the bus, but like him getting his ass kicked. It was kind of like the cherry on top of everything. And to that point, man, that's Bob for the most part. Outside of two scenes where you know, technically for insurance reasons, you have to have a stunt double. That's Bob, man.
Oh yeah, no. And by the way, him training for the 2 years absolutely makes this movie. And I think that you know, you don't have to cut away or try to cheat it. You can tell when you're watching it, that's Bob doing this and throwing punches and, you know, all that stuff. But a lot of people online will say, or a lot of people have said it's, you know, and even I've sort of said, it's Bob Odenkirk's John Wick. And I don't mean that in a bad way. I just mean that it's kind of his John Wick. So what's your reaction to that? Do you like that comparison, or you sort of like it's completely wrong?
I fucking love that comparison, man. I mean, these are the movies I grew up with and love. I'm not here to reinvent the wheel. I'm here to make a really good wheel. And you're like, I want to fucking ride on that wheel. And so when you look at the world building of it all, like the Lethal Weapons, the Bond, the you know, the Statham, all that kind of stuff I grew up with, the Jason Bourne, all those elements are there because I'm fucking playing on the playground in the sandbox. And those are the toys at my disposal. So the idea that in Ronin, you allude to a world beneath the world without seeing it, sometimes we just hear about it, other times we get to see it. Dude, all of those things, if every movie I do after this point, people enjoy and they're like, but it's like John Wick, I'll be like, fuck yeah.
Got it. When you are, obviously, if this is a hit, everyone wants to make a sequel. After your success with John Wick, because obviously the first one, you had no idea what it was going to become. And you're sort of like, you know, with the sequels, you have to sort of, or you had to sort of build the world while also making it fit with what you've already done. How much in Nobody were you in the writing process thinking, okay, let me make sure I have like a Bible and a backstory and sort of like the subterranean world figured out prior to making this or while writing this?
Yeah. None. Honestly, a bunch of notebooks with some doodles. I mean, it kind of goes back to the first John Wick, and even on when I visited the production on Nobody, is on the first John Wick, Keanu looked at me at a certain point. He's like, "Do you got more of these in your head?" By the way, I can't do a Keanu, so I'm not even going to try. And I was like, "Yeah." And he's like, "Where would you go?" I was like, I got 7 of them. You know, and what I like looking at him is very kind of the minute proportions of things. I'm not a Saving Private Ryan guy. I love that movie. That's not the movie I'm going to make. I'm going to make Hell is for Heroes. You know, I'm not going to make The Exorcist, but I'm going to make Cabin in the Woods. You know, when you think of like, I love these things, but you kind of know the lane you're in. So with Nobody, you got a couple of hints. And Ilya would offer a hint, or I would offer a hint, and we'd ask the other, what does that mean? And we're kind of like, don't fucking know. We'll figure it out when we get there, you know?
Well, to me, I don't want to get into spoilers because I might run this before it comes out, but the ending of the movie, you know, sets up maybe something that could happen in the future.
Yeah.
How much, because look, the movie's really good. How much are you already starting like jotting down sequel ideas, and how much have you sort of talked about that, and or are you like superstitious about doing anything until it comes out?
No. I mean, I'm one of those guys that, you're right. I have like 50 things going on, but every night for at least an hour, I open up a empty document and I doodle, you know, because I fucking love this, man. And when it comes to I'm sorry for the cursing. I get nervous.
I think, listen, you're, that's the way I get when I get super excited about
All
things.
right.
I like start cursing, and I've gotten in trouble for it, and I try to cut down on it, but every once in a while it slips through.
Because grandpa and aunts and uncles see this, are like, we really liked your interview, but man, Derek, I'm like, yeah, I know. But here's the thing about Nobody. Like, remember that the first scene in the movie? That's the first thing I ever pitched Bob in the meeting, because I had the dream the night before, and I told Sonia, my wife, before the meeting. She's like, you got to open with that. I pitched that, and Bob's like, you're fucking hired, right? And so on the second one, I have the opening scene, and we all just chuckle and cackle when you see this thing, because it's in line with that. And I always want to begin that way. You know, I love the old Roger Moore Bond movies, because they began with the last sequence of events in a movie that didn't exist. I want to just do a snapshot of that, and you're in. So when you think about where this could go in the future, look, I have massive respects for these tentpole franchises. Do I want to do some of them? Am I doing some of them? Yes. But honestly, I don't want the next movie to be all that much bigger. I want the action to emulate The Raid, Old Boy, you know, the elevator sequence in Die Hard with a Vengeance, the elevator sequence in Captain America and the Winter Soldier, like the intimacy, Atomic Blonde, where she beats the shit out of the guys in the car. Like, I want more of that for Bob, and that's what Bob wants. He wants that physicality of self. But the story is like what they always say in TV. It's still true for comic books, for video games, for movies. Character is key. And so we got to keep with Bob. And I don't want his family to disappear. Like, I think they're really, really important. But you also don't want to do the Mr. and Mrs. Smith thing, where everyone's an assassin. We've seen that before. This is Bob, you know, and it's a abnormal guy trying to be normal. And that's where the fun can be had, you know.
You guys discussed, obviously he just started filming the final season of Better Call Saul. Have you guys sort of talked about, hey, if this thing takes off, like, what are you doing right after you wrap?
Oh yeah, no, I mean, it's funny, because when you look at the size of this movie compared to everything else on Universal's slate, it's tiny. But the love for it, even before that first trailer, and with the trailer, and blessedly now with the reviews, I can't wait. But like, you know, I'm doing a television show with Bob that he's co-creating with me, and he's producing. And then, you know, we're doing another movie together outside of Nobody as well, that kind of plays in the same but similar landscape. And dude, here's the thing about Bob. You know how you see an interview with someone like I'm doing stuff with like Patton Oswalt and Sterling K. Brown, and you're like, I think he's a really nice guy. Dude, he's your dad. He's your favorite uncle. He's that friend of your dad's that you're like, come over all the time. I love you. And the more I get to do with him, the better I am as a person, man. So I love him.
Oh yeah, no, I got to interview him for Nobody, and he's awesome.
He's
also, I'm like just a huge fan, because I'm sure you're a Better Call Saul fan.
Oh yeah.
Do you try to avoid spoilers, or do you secretly like, hey man, so how's the first script open?
No, I actively avoid them a bit because there is like for myself in Falcon and the Winter Soldier, there's kind of like this titanium, gate in place of like, you can kind of talk, you know? And with him, it's always been like, we geek out over the shit we do. Like here he's an accomplished guy. And one of the things that I love is the number of times that on a Zoom or a call or a meeting, he'll pause and look at me and go, can you believe we get to do this for a living? And I'm like, yes, I hope I have that energy. And I still do. We're like, dude, Derek, it'd be great. And then he'd pitch a scene and he'd be like, maybe not. And I'm across the table from him going, yes, So the energy there, the stuff he does, the more we can all see of him, the better.